thank you again for being here, and feel free to grab some pakoras. And also, because it's the Diwali festival, which is the festival of lights in India, we have some sweets as well, and tea, of course. You'd have to put some sugar in it, and feel free to grab any time. And panelists, if you need anything else, please let us know. But these chai and chat sessions are being conducted to improve the humanitarian efforts and bridge the communication gap that exists on various topics so far. And like I said, this is probably our 15th or the 16th session, but I appreciate and thank each of the panelists for being here. And I'd like to quickly introduce, as you'll see, their bios and profiles rotating on the screen. I'll quickly introduce from my right, and most of them I know very well. Most of them I've had recent acquaintances. So Bobby Wolf is an attorney at law, recently ran for office for Superior Court Judge in Fulton County. Yes, very nice. Thank you for being here, Bobby. And Watson is our probably the youngest member, but Watson, I have to tell you, I did celebrate my 19th, so I beat you up to that. I celebrated my 19th this year. And so he's a 20-year-old young person who's getting involved in political field, and does have a leadership role in his university, in the Georgia Tech University. And of course, my very good friend, Mayor Vince Williams. Who's 21 who's 21 and is the mayor of the Union City, has been very involved in the community and also in his political leadership as well. Commissioner Cindy Mills is a new acquaintance and a new friend, and thank you for being here. From the short time that we talked, I can see how engaged you are, and that's some of the stuff we'll be talking about this afternoon. To my left is Cassandra Kirk, the Chief Judge. She just got re-elected to the Chief Judge of Magistrate Court in Fulton County, so congratulations for that. I hear you put up a tough battle, but we want to hear more about that. And Roger Weiss Jr. is a friend probably for the past 3 years. And Roger, we appreciate you. You call yourself Mr. Facilitator, and we do need, especially in these times, a lot of Mr. Facilitators and Mrs. Facilitators. So thank you for being here. Roger, you can see their bios rotating, so you can see their deep accomplishments throughout their career. Jan Selman is a good friend as well. Jan, thank you for being here. I would probably say Mrs. Facilitator as well. Does a lot of advocating for women, so we'll get to hear a lot from you. Thank you. And Senator Michael Williams, a new friend or acquaintance, thank you for being here. And you would think so much so that technology and the senator, so you'll get to hear from him how he is getting involved in the technological field. So thank you for being here. And the question I have in the beginning, and I'll run through the agenda very quick. We'll have a panel discussion for probably till 5:25, 5:15, but then the Q&A will start from 5:20, so you'll have 10 minutes to ask questions, and then we'll break out for a short break. And after that, we will have two candidate speakers who are running for office come and say why we should vote for them. So they'll give their campaign spill on why we should vote for them. So that's coming up as well. But I'd like to start with you, Senator Michael, and I usually have this question asked for all the panelists, but from this side, the question will differ. So for you, Senator Williams, what are you most proud of?
Like just globally, what am I most proud of?
Or in your professional life, in your personal life, in your career life?
I have 5 children. So I have to say that my 5 children are probably the thing that I am the most proud of in my life. And they range from 28 to 1. So
Wow.
pretty busy, but that's the thing that brings me the most pride, the most joy is seeing my kids grow up and just be good people. Probably professionally in the Senate, one of the bills that I worked on and passed a couple of years ago, many people talk about our education here in Georgia and across our country and how we need to improve our education. And many people will run for school board and do other things to get involved and try to have an impact. But here in Georgia, several years ago, a bill was actually passed that changed the way school board elected officials were to be treated. In fact, in our code section, it talks about how school board members are not to be treated like all the other elected officials. They don't represent us, they represent the school board, which I think is a fundamental problem, because if you represent the school board primarily so that the school board can maintain their accreditation, who then controls their education system? It's the accreditation boards that control our education system. So I had two bills that I worked on. One of them said that, and also part of the bill that was passed a couple of years ago, that a Board of Education member, after a vote was made, could not publicly speak out against it, which I just thought was a fundamental infraction upon their First Amendment right. So the first bill I had stripped that away, so it allowed them to speak out against it if they disagreed with it. And then the second bill I had actually reinstated that Board of Education members should represent the people and not the school board. I got one of them passed, but not the second one passed. So there's still some more work to be done.
But that's a great accomplishment. Thank you, Senator. Jan, how about you? What are you most proud of? You can use the mic.
Oh, use the mic. I would have to say my family. I have one son who is in the Marines right now, and so I hope you'll all keep him in your heart. He's not here in the States right now. And the other thing I'm most proud of is that I do animal rescue, and I have, over the years, provided and rescued homes for more than 50 dogs. And also, I'm proud of the work that I've done to get more than 50 women elected in Georgia. Thank you.
Roger, what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm blessed. I grew up a country boy in North Carolina. Sonny Boy is my nickname, S-U-N-N-Y. My grandmama said, "You like a little ray of sunshine, Sonny Boy," so you're Sonny Boy. She told me something a long time ago. She said, "You're going to only be as successful as your friends will allow you to be." And I have established the reputation of being a facilitator. I could not do that without my friends. And Mike will tell you, I've been down there 40 years. And I just bring people together to make good things happen. I don't care who gets credit for it, as long as it gets done. I work with the student leadership, John Creek. And I tell those young people, I said, I want everybody in this room to drop the word me from your vocabulary. And you replace it with we, because we can do more than me. And you're going to be part of programs, doing good stuff in the community. And when you get something done that's good, you get a warm feeling inside. And many people say that's a feeling of accomplishment. It is not. It's psychic income. And that's worth more than money. So I challenge each of you to be millionaires in psychic income by the time you die. Every time you do something good, you earn psychic income. And that's what I'm most proud of.
Very nice. And we're proud of you, Roger. Thank you. Judge Kirk, what are you most proud of? And excuse me one second. Bobby, if you want to just adjust yourself so you can see the panelists as well, that'll just, go ahead. And Watson, and you can just, Mayor, can you see them as well? Yeah, sorry, okay, go ahead.
So what I'm most proud of is being able to have wonderful friends. And so I do not have a large extended family. My mic is not on.
Here.
Sorry. What I said I'm most proud of is being able to have wonderful friends. Of course, that includes Nazira. It includes a lot of other people that have helped me get where I am. In addition to my wonderful mother and father and our small family, I am thankful that I have friends that have supported me no matter how silly I am, no matter how outrageous I am, have allowed me to be just as out of the world as I can be, but have kept me grounded. So the fact that my parents gave me roots and wings is something of which I'm incredibly proud. Professionally, I am thankful for the opportunity that was presented to me by Governor Deal I am thankful for the opportunity given to me by the people of Fulton County, which allows me to retain my seat. I can tell you that the election that just happened, I am incredibly proud that, number one, I prevailed, but number two, that I just got through the election process. And for those of you that have ever thought about doing it, it's a scary thing, and if you really want it, you should go for it. And so I'm very proud of that. Our court, I want to talk about quickly, has accomplished a lot in the last 4 years. One of the biggest things we have done is we've closed 30,000 cases, small claims cases, that had been open from 2010 to 2015. And so that's a big deal. Think about it. There were 30,000 people that didn't know where their cases stood, what was going on with them, and we were able to close those cases with satisfaction. The other thing we were able to do is to give us mediation at the North Annex as well as the South Annex. We had mediation in the Central Annex, and so, or downtown. Another plus is we have expanded mediation in terms of our landlord-tenant center, as well as we now have people that will help tenants as they navigate that fast-moving landlord-tenant process. And that's one of the things that people are talking about now. We are looking forward to expanding and continuing to work with the community. So,
very
thank
nice.
you.
Lots to be proud of. And so we would like to acknowledge the elected officials and diplomats in our audience. If you can stand up, please. Jay, thank you so much, Jay. Jay Lynn is our City Council member for Johns Creek, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. Thank you, Jay. So, Commissioner Cindy, I'm going to change the question for you. The question is, which one thing do you wish you had done differently? Let me see.
In office or in life?
It's up to you. Whatever you want to share with us, personally, or professionally, or both.
I think one of my greatest regrets in life is I didn't finish college. And that has been something that has really haunted me. I had an opportunity to go to work. I had a guy that, Tommy Bagwell, that owned American Proteins, and my dad had always worked and revered him, and he called and offered me what I thought was a really good job at a good time, and I was already married, and I took the job and the opportunity, and instead of finishing, and I had 3 years in, and it didn't seem like a bad choice at the time, and it has been a really bad choice since then. And it has, I've been able to experience success in careers, and I've had, a lot of different ones that I think I've done well in. It's not a matter of not having the monetary gain, but it's just, and both my kids have graduated from college, but it's being able to say, I don't have that degree. And every time I fill out the form and I say some college, and I don't get to say I have the degree, that always is a thing that's haunted me. And I've been thinking, and I went through a real unexpected divorce that I wasn't planning, that threw me a loop. And I went back to school then at 35, and I was a way better student at 35 than I was at 18. And I was able to my professors gave me a lot more respect then too. But I should have finished then. But my kids, I had a 9 and a 4-year-old, and I took Spanish then for the first time. And I learned they hated me because I blew the curve all the time because I was really a good student. But I learned how to manipulate and make really good grades. But I didn't finish then either, and I should have. And it was just a matter of the timing. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe after I finish this course of life, I'll go back and finish. But that's one thing I've really regretted.
Thank you for sharing. And that just goes to say, people who are mostly college educated are more book smart. We've sort of struggled with the street smart. How do we make good decisions? So thank you for sharing that. Mayor Williams, what is one thing that you wish you had done differently?
Well, Nazira and friends, to be perfectly honest, there is nothing that I regret that I've done in my life. Certainly anything that I have done that may have been what many would call a wrong decision, it was a lesson that I learned from that. So I thank God for continuing to cover me and keep me, but also guide me. So, I hate to disappoint you. I don't regret anything that I've done.
Mayor, is that the pastor in you?
That is it.
Yes, Mayor is also a preacher in his church. Yes, a minister in his church. Yes. Watson, what is that one thing you wish you had done differently?
Well, there's not much room for error here, but I would still say, the short time I've been here, I could have paid more attention in class. I feel freshman year, definitely did not know what I was getting into when I joined college. Other than that, I thought you would switch up the question when it came to me, but I gotta say, I don't have much to say here. So I'm still hoping for the best and. All that good stuff.
Thank you, Watson. You still have a lot of time to make mistakes and learn. Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I just want to say...
Down in the middle.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just switch it down. Is that better?
Yes.
Great. I want to say good afternoon and thank you to everybody for being here. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. I would say, Nazira, my regret is only figuring out now at age 51 how important it is to be present in this moment. And that's the real reason why I thank everybody. Be present in the moment. When I was younger, I probably thought that the important events in my life would be really big ones, a wedding or a graduation. And then later, I thought, well, maybe it's just the everyday little things. You look in your child's eyes. Little everyday mundane things were really the special things. But what I've really come to realize now, and maybe it's just a product of us living a good life, but I wish I could go back to age 15, 20, 30, 40, and be present in the moment, like I ask everyone in this audience to be present in this moment. And as we go along, if you're not sure about this political process, if you want to sit on the sideline, please don't. Be present in the moment, because what you do, what you think matters, and our community needs you. So like I've learned, and it's taken me a while to figure it out, please be present in the moment and just enjoy our community. We have a beautiful, wonderful community and a wonderful life, and like Roger said, just so much to be grateful for. So thank you.
Thank you, Bobby, and that's one of the messages I've been trying to put out as well.
Nazira, may I add a little something to that?
Yes.
As he just stated, there's a talk that I do called "You Got to Get Your Jersey Dirty If You Want to Play in the Game."
Yes.
Politics is not a sideline sport. Get out of the bleachers. Get on the field. Put your jersey on. You might get your nose bloodied. You're going to get your jersey dirty. But you got to get your jersey dirty if you're going to play in the game.
Thank you, Roger. And we'll discuss that further as we move along. So, Mayor, the first question is for you. And we know that every politician works on their self-interest, just like any other human being. Politicians are human beings as well. But tell me, how can, with those self-interests for their own or for the public interests, how can government and politicians work more efficiently with people in the front, with people in the forefront?
Well, I tell you, you just have to, from what I found, it's always best to find out where that circle of interest is and invite those folks into your circle. And then deploy those folks to go out and get the people who are standing on the edges, if you will, who say, well, I really want to say something, but maybe I shouldn't. And let them know that it's comfortable to be able to come and be a part of the conversation. Because I shared earlier with someone, we were created to coexist. And part of coexisting doesn't mean that we all believe the same things. Doesn't mean that we all agree on the same things, and that's okay. but listening to one another gives us a better understanding of how to achieve a greater path for us all. Because living in a community, it's about what's best for everyone, not just one subdivision or one street or one school or one family. It's about all families. So it's about bringing everybody to the table.
So, Mayor, I used to be the chief of staff, and I remember you used to call and say, you being the chief of staff is helping more because I've sort of opened up the communication.
Well, and I have to say, you know, there was this disconnect between South Fulton and the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. And I have to say that honestly, you know, that with Nazira being chief of staff of the chairman's office, that opened up a window of opportunity for us to be heard, because we were being neglected, if you will. You know, I'm not one to have a pity party, because I'm going to get something done whether you want it done or not. You know, but I thought it would be best for us to be able to have an open dialogue of, you know, what are the needs on the South Side, to be able to pay attention to some of those needs, but also realize that folks on the South Side pay taxes just like the North Side as well. You know, I have every mayor that's in the North Side, I consider them friends. Now, I haven't had the chance to build a strong relationship with the new mayor of Alpharetta yet, but certainly David Bell Isles and Rusty Paul, Jerry Wood, and certainly the rest of them, and even the new mayor of Roswell, she and I are developing a relationship. But it's all about how we come together to build a stronger community for everyone. You know, so certainly Nazira, what you did as chief of staff, that helped us a great deal. It opened up other opportunities within the Fulton County government that we needed, from health, from social justice, and all of those opportunities. And I certainly applaud you for that, but also for your continuing to have these types of discussions.
Thank you. So certainly goes back to say that the open communication of people who understand what needs to be done can have more efficient government and politicians working together. So with that question, Jan, talking about women and men, right? And I don't know if we can say for sure that we've established the equality, but definitely I'm not sure about in the political field, right? So what are the systemic, cultural, and other obstacles, economic obstacles that exist or that can be addressed to have more women in political leadership, or even be nominated as candidates for the political field?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and it's a difficult question to answer. And the reasons are many. No, we do not have parity in Georgia, and that's one of the things that New Power PAC has been working on, because Georgia ranks at the bottom of women being elected to office. And we have never had a female governor, lieutenant governor. We just elected the first female senator from Georgia last year. So we are way behind. And so part of it has to do with the fact that women won't run for office. And you can't be elected if you don't run. And one of the several reasons that they don't run is, one, they don't feel qualified. No matter how long their credentials are, when you approach a woman about running for office, she'll say, I'm not qualified, but I'll find you someone. I'll help you find someone. When Senator Mary Margaret Oliver was approached to run for office, she rejected that 4 times before she actually ran. She always said, I'll find you someone qualified. You know, and she's been an outstanding senator since. So that's part of the problem. Women have primary responsibility for young children. That's often a handicap. Although now it's not as much, and we've been doing videos to show that all these women are running with small children. They're even taking their children door to door, and so it's an education process for them as well. And at a recent judicial workshop that we had, 2 of the women judges who were running to be a judge cited their daughters as the reason they ran. And they said it was very scary. They were afraid to take on running and this election for a judgeship. And then they looked at their daughters and said, if we back down from this, if I back down from this challenge, if I'm not brave enough, how can I convince my daughter to be brave in her choices later on in her life? And they stepped up. It was difficult. They ran and they won. So there are a lot of things different. Women are judged from their hairline to their hemline when they run. That's not so much true for men. And so there's, it's very difficult to walk the fine line of balance when you're a woman candidate. When they do step up to run, the playing field is more or less level. They have as good a chance of winning as anyone else. So we've been very proud at New Power PAC to encourage, endorse, train, and elect women to office. And I encourage all the women out there today to think about it. There's no special qualification to run for office. Anyone can run, and anyone can win.
Sure, thank you, Jan. And I know Cindy had a feedback as well, but Cindy, I was going to ask Jan the question, but which you can answer. Countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Israel, Canada, Norway, United Kingdom, Germany, Ukraine, Lithuania has had a prime minister or a president or the elected head of the state of the government. Why not USA?
I guess I don't know. I think it takes time. And I think I agree that more women need to step up, but I don't think women should step up just because they're female. I think that women should step up that have something to offer. By the same token, men shouldn't step up just because they're male. I mean, there's a lot of men that have been in office that should have stayed at home. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I think that the reason social media is going to make it where a lot more people won't run for office. And it is, I mean, I have had things that have happened to me that my daughter, she's just become an attorney and just got out of school and was very successful, is working in the DA's office as an assistant DA now, and had these idealists, you know, thinking of that she would love to be in politics one day, and she has watched my experience, and I will be surprised if she ever goes near it. I mean, I've had 4 different ethics violations brought against me, all based upon zoning decisions. Every time, and Michael definitely, Senator Williams knows what is in our county, and the control in our county, but they've been one time, and this is the truth, you can go back and look at it, I had an ethics violation brought against me because I got up and went to the bathroom during a planning commission meeting. Not even my meeting. At one point during that ethics hearing, there were 5 attorneys being paid in the room talking about, could I have urinated that quickly? And that, I mean, I never realized that urination had anything to do with ethics. That was never an ethical matter I'd never thought about before. But that was all based on because I had stood up for property rights on a zoning that I did not think. I had made a comment on Facebook about that we are supposed to provide a level playing field to all people. And all people. It does, to the landowner, to all people of all color, to all genders, to all people. And that got me, they couldn't come up with anything better on that one. And that got me, it wasn't even my meeting. And I had run to the restroom, and that was the best they could bring on me. And you can bring, in our county, our ethics thing is written really more friendly for attorneys than anybody else. And you can bring one for any reason. And that was, I had to go through, I went through being called, I've been called fat so many times that doesn't even faze me. But I've been, you know, I wear flip-flops, not sandals, they call them flip-flops. You know, my hair, my this, my that. And, you know, the men beside me can be heavy. They don't get called fat. They can wear sweaters with holes in it or milk stains or hair from their cats or dogs. That doesn't get, they've never been called any of that. But the women, you know, and really, to be perfectly honest, women are the most cruel to other women. It's not just a man thing. It's women are most cruel.
So,
They don't support each other.
Cindy, you're still shining on top of all that.
Thank you.
So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So,
Nazir, if I may,
yes.
Cindy is actually my commissioner, and I can vouch 100% for everything that she has just said. I don't always agree with everything that she does, but one thing that I can say about Cindy without a shadow of a doubt is she is who she is. She's not embarrassed about it, and you give her something to do, she's going to go after it like a pit bull. And if I want somebody representing me, that's who I want to represent me.
Thank you for the affirmation again, Cindy. There you go. Thank you. Watson, the next question is for you. And in this era, we are seeing more of activism, and we are seeing the cost of non-involvement in the political arena. But some of the things, as a young child, we are coming with wisdom. We have lots of years of experience than you. So we are able to figure out the good from the bad, and we are able to cope with it. But what would you tell the young people who are uninspired by the state of politics in the current era?
Well, to start off, yes, it is true that many young voters do believe that they're disenfranchised. They don't believe that their vote matters, and therefore they don't go to the polls. That being said, I think there's a lot of progress being made. I'm hearing conversations on Georgia Tech's campus that I haven't heard 2 years ago, even during the presidential election. People saying stuff like, you know, I don't think she'll win, but I'll vote anyways. And enough people vote, then things can happen. So another thing I wanted to point out is just voter demographics in general. I think this is the year where millennials and Generation Z has surpassed the baby boomer generation. We're at 74 million in America right now. And by the year 2035, the baby boomer generation will have dwindled down to 16 million. And that will have a huge impact on how our country is shaped in the future and our politics. So there is a lot of negativity going around, and yes, it is easy to be uninspired, but I think that I'm more excited than anything else at this point, and I think a lot of people all across college campuses and even seniors in high school feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby, there are a lot of first candidates that have come up running for the first time, many candidates on both the sides. What do you think, who should represent the community, and what does it mean to have a voice, right? And being the first-time runners, what does it mean to the future of our political system? And one more thing, should we think that politicians are the ones who can fix things? I sort of think it relates to all the questions I asked.
Gosh. Well, to give you a little background on me, so I was born and raised in Fulton County, went to Fulton County Public Schools all the way through, and when I went to college, went to law school. Tell you a quick funny story. I called home from college to tell my parents I was thinking about being a lawyer, and you could hear a pin drop. They were so profoundly disappointed that they might get a lawyer in the family. Here they raised me in a good home, gave me every opportunity, and now this is what I wanted to do to the family's good name. But the thing I realized once I went to law school, what was for me, it was the best chance for a career of public service. And so that's what I would say. You know, politician has a very negative stain to it. So I'd rather change it from politician. Think of yourself as a public servant. And how do you serve the public and the greater good? I've worked for an elected official for all of my 26 years as a lawyer. First in Cobb County, then in Fulton County for 2 elected officials, and in Gwinnett County. I was always aware of that. I was always aware that I was representing that public official. And with that public official being the district attorney, it was very important for us always to seek justice, to seek the truth and whatever it was. If it was to go after the bad guy to make our community safer, absolutely. If it was to give someone a second chance through accountability courts and to get to the court addiction issue or mental health issue, we did that. If it was a case where we knew we had a real victim, but we could not prove the case, it was more important to seek justice than an expedient conviction. So I had a base of my entire adult life really serving the public, always a step behind the elected official, but very proud doing that in the trenches. That was as a prosecutor. Every day as a prosecutor, you're in front of a judge. So I think everybody who goes in front of a judge, in the back of his or her mind thinks, maybe one of these days. And I was never really presumptuous enough to think that I might be a judge someday. Well, one of our judges, one of our better judges, Tom Campbell from Roswell, announced he was going to retire. He was going to serve the remainder of his term. And so you, the voters of Fulton County, would decide his successor. And I decided to run. And it was daunting. And Judge Kirk and I were on the campaign trail at the same time for 2 different races. It was really fun and exciting and rewarding for me. Now, I will say my race was not contentious and personal and rough like other races were. And I give Judge Kirk a lot of credit for taking the high road. My race, it was really fun getting out there and meeting the people I would serve as a judge. And so what I tell you, this has come up a couple times, if you're thinking about running, please do it. If you want to volunteer, please do it. Whatever role you take, get involved in the process because then you're invested. I was really disappointed when I lost because you put yourself out there. One day, you're trying to put one more sign up. You're trying to get one more ad out. You're trying to get one more mailer out to the voters. You're really trying to get your name out there. And then you fall a few votes short, and then you think, gosh, I have a lot of signs to pick up. And you want to hide. And you're not sure if you really should have done it. And then person after person, every man, every woman said, we're so glad you did it because you stepped forward to try to improve our community. And so that's what I would say, Nazira, is that it's just such a wonderful opportunity for all of us to get involved in whatever capacity it is. Whether our community, and I say our community, there is a lot of divisiveness. And, you could go on social media and you think that one gubernatorial candidate is awful. And then you read another post and you would think the same of the other. And, I will go out on a limb and say they're both good, decent people. And they both want to serve our community. So keep that in mind, too, when you get involved in politics, to respect the other person's view. And, Mayor, I think you were the one who really hit on it. We're in this together. I guess the short answer is I would encourage everybody to get involved.
Great. Thank you, Bobby. So the next question before I go to Roger is for you, Cassandra. So some people who are in the political field are adept. They know exactly what they're playing at. And for them, a political campaign advertising means nothing but the win. It has nothing else to do. All they want to do, they just have to win no matter what, right? So what is the value of disagreements and opposition in a respectful way? And offensiveness, is there a fine line to the offensiveness that can be put out there or perceived during a political advertising?
And so I'm not sure how many of you all were aware of the small judicial race that happened from March until May of this year, 2018. There was a race for a job that paid $131,000, and we had to reach almost 1 million people, and it was the absolute worst display of lack of civility that I have ever seen in a race, and this was for a judicial position. And so in this race, and I am listening to the city councilwoman, the commissioner, in this race was the first time in my 20-something year legal career that I had ever had a complaint filed on me. I had 3 JQC complaints filed on me for things that people in the campaign were doing. Someone called me a re-election campaign. It's the first time this seat has ever been held, and so it was an election campaign. All my literature said election. One of my friends on a social media post said re-election. Off we go to the JQC to discuss something so incredibly minor. And so it's a matter of splitting my time between the absolute foolishness, that's the diversion, and trying to get a real message out to people, because I had been serving in this seat since December of 2014 when the governor appointed me. And so there's a couple of things that you should know if the governor appointed me. First off, the governor of the state of Georgia, right? Not some county, not some city, but the governor said, I'm gonna put her in this tiny, tiny court, and I expect her to stay there. At least I'm hoping that's what he said when he put me there. Well, and then the problem is that someone also, in a possible other judicial seat, said, we want to move her out of that seat because we don't like the fact that she's not going along to get along. And so my race was targeted. There was not another incumbent judge in Fulton County who had a race to run against an opposition. And so this race, and I appreciate you asking, but it was not a kind race. It was not a nice race. And so for me, my whole thing, as a lawyer, I had been doing underdog work, right? So I started out in a firm, and my firm work, that was not underdog work, that was absolute glory work. We were labor and employment management side, that wasn't underdog. I left there to go work for the DA's office. When I went to the DA's office, I did juvenile court. Again, we're doing underdog work. When I left juvenile court, I went to go work as a child advocate. I'm sorry, a child attorney. All my work had been representing underdogs, and for me to become the underdog, I was like, that's fine, because I know how to fight. That's what I have been doing, and so that's absolutely what I was required to do at that time. And people came to me and they said, suppose you lose. I said, here's what you need to understand. God put me here, and if God does not wish for me to stay here, I'll be okay with that. God has told me no so many times in my life, and it has worked out so much better. I'm okay with that. So for me, I knew I was going to put my feet to the grind. I was going to wake up every morning. I was going to go wherever I was supposed to go, and I was going to put myself in the public and say, here I am. You're going to look at me, and then you're going to tell me no when you go to the voting box. It's not going to be because I didn't show up. I'm going to be here. I'm going to put myself here because we have worked hard on this court for the last 4 years. And so for me, it was offensive. It was absolutely offensive that as an incumbent, I had a challenger that had, number one, more money. The money in Fulton County dried up. What we do as lawyers is lawyers are the ones that give. I got no money, right? And so I moved from dealing with lawyers to dealing with the public, because when I worked for Judge Jeanneret, what he told me is, you can get a bunch of $20 donations that would match those people giving hundreds and thousands of dollars. And he's absolutely right, because the money that was raised in my campaign, there was no one that maxed out in my campaign, no one, right? Everyone can't say that. I did not have money to self-fund, but I knew how to grind. I knew how to get up every morning and go ask people to support me, and that's what I did. But this race was not a race that I would have encouraged anyone to participate in. Yeah, and it was, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Judge, I can feel the emotions, and we've talked about it a couple of times. It's scary, and I've run for office myself, and Jaylin was on another race during the same time. And we've had several arrows thrown at us, and we just didn't know which arrows to throw back. So I just felt like I was taking the arrows, but I still stood strong, finished the race. So with that said, Roger, tell us about politics then and politics now. How has the activities or the actions changed in you know, what you've seen 50 years ago, 40 years ago? And
well,
now?
I'll start out by saying Jerry Lee Lewis said, come along, baby, there's a whole bunch of shaking going on. I've been involved for 40 years. I got involved in my corporate life. I had the pleasure of spending 30 years with Abbott Laboratories. And I've always worked on children's issues, children's health care. I have the pleasure of being the ambassador for the Shriner Children's Hospitals. I work on veterans issues because I am a veteran, and our veterans need all the help and respect we can give them. And I work on education issues. Well, many, many years ago, everybody they stayed civil. When they had a race, they respected each other. They would disagree, but they would respectfully disagree. There wasn't any of this sneaking around and trying to downgrade. And the judge, my heart went out to her more than once. But she let them know that they weren't going to run her out of that race. She was hell-bent. She's a person of strong faith. I'm a person of strong faith. God will challenge us in many ways. But she just stood up and said, you ain't going to run me out of this race. I'm going to stay right where I am. And we're so pleased in Fulton County that she did that. She's taken this magistrate's court and cleaned it up. She mentioned get along to get along. The senator's seen this too. A lot of elected officials just get along to get along. They worry about their next election. They worry about who's giving to their campaign. They worry about where they're going to be sitting at a dinner. Now that's really something to worry about. Where am I going to be sitting? If I'm not going to be sitting at the head table, I'm not coming to the dinner. It's all about me. And as I said earlier, there ain't no need for me, it's we. A true elected official, to my definition, is a we person. They worry about what they have done for their community. They worry about what they have done for their state and what they can do for their community and their state. I watched Jay Lynn. I had the pleasure of working very closely with establishing the city of Johns Creek. Jay Lynn came in, a young guy, city council. I've watched him grow. I've watched him mature. And the reason being is Jay always puts people first. He's not a politician. He's not a politician. He's a people person. And I am very discouraged as to what I'm seeing now at the national level, the local level. It's very disenfranchising. And the young gentleman from Georgia Tech, I respect him very much. He's learning at an early age to pay his civic rent. And there's many of his colleagues, and I work very closely with the JROTC program. I work with kids that are looking at wanting to get in military academies. I work with a lot of the college students. And I'm seeing more of an interest now at that level than I've ever seen before. But what they're seeing, they're turned off by it. They said, you know, these are supposed to be mature adults, but they're acting like children. And that brings me to the statement, too. An elected official is like a child. They behave better when they're being watched. So keep your eyes on them and make sure, and don't be afraid to send them to the corner and tell them to sit in the corner until I call you because you're in timeout. So what you have to do, and what I'm seeing today, I'm hoping that we're going to get over this. I'm hoping we're going to get over this because we're setting the wrong picture in place for our young folks that's beginning to come up into the system. The system should be respect. You can disagree, but you look eyeball to eyeball and sit down and talk about it in a respectful way. You go your way, I go my way. I respect you, you respect me. But the judge will tell you, and our county commissioner, some of this mess they come up with, you know, she gets up to go to the bathroom, and that's illegal. She shouldn't go to the bathroom. She ought to wait. So they have a lot of political consultants, and they get paid to keep the pot stirring. They get paid to look for stuff that they can use against someone else. They actually have individuals, that's all they do is they research candidates so they can pick stuff to give to the campaign to use against the other person. I was on the telephone this week for a candidate, and I made 375 telephone calls. I was there all day. I learned a lot talking to people. This particular election that we're having in our state is being watched nationwide. And I had people that had voted one way and some people voted the other way. But when they found out I wasn't a robocall, they just let me have it. But it was good. It was good because we talked. And when we got through, they said, well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you for being honest. So that's the way I see it now. We need to go back to the basics. We need to go back to where we came from. Let's be honest. Let's deal with the basics. Let's have mutual respect. And disagree, but respectfully disagree.
Definitely, thank you.
Nazira, I'm sorry, if I could just say, oh, please applaud first. I didn't mean to fill your applause.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to echo what Judge Kirk said, and Roger, what you said as well. We want to be real with you. We want to be honest with you. But I really hope that you leave encouraged rather than discouraged. It's a beautiful day out there today. It's a beautiful fall day. You could have been out doing anything else. You chose to be here, which is a huge step. You care about our community just as much as we do. In other words, we need you now more than ever. We're not necessarily going down the road where 2028 is going to be 10 years worse than it is now. It doesn't have to be that way if you get involved.
Thank you, well said, Bobby,
I
definitely.
challenge you to get off the bleachers, get on the field, and get your jersey dirty.
Great. So yes, definitely, Roger. And Senator, let's shift gears for a little bit. Blockchain technology, right? So how important the data, the importance of data, especially when you have the voters list, you're able to go knock on doors. You know whether they're going to vote for you or not, right? So data is very important. Having been in the research field, I know how important decisions and policy decisions are made based on data. So do you think blockchain technology, the Bitcoin technology that they're talking about that's happening right now, is it disruptive technology? Or if that can be used to serve the people in a better way, why is it not being acknowledged?
Well, this, I don't know if you planned it this way, but that question kind of encompasses everything that we just talked about. The reason that is one, we can elect a whole new breed of people tomorrow. And unless they are willing to reject the current system that's in play right now, and that system that is controlled by money, it's not going to matter. I got involved in politics about 5 years ago. I've never been involved before. I just got sick and tired of our political system. So I decided to just run for state senate, and by the grace of God, I won. And I was naive. I thought I could actually go down there and make a difference. We've all heard, go along to get along. We've heard about money. It is a system that is designed not to represent us, but to represent the people that control our country. I'm not talking about Republicans or Democrats. I'm talking about an elite group of people that dictate down to us what we do, how we do it. Think about this for just a moment. Citizens United was just a Supreme Court ruling that gave corporations a voice in unlimited spending. But yet the Johnson Amendment that silences churches. Think about that for just one moment. What is that designed to do? It's designed to quiet down and to shut up, basically to silence morality. You know, those things that we all, I just did an interview in the back about love, about truth. It's designed to shut that down and reward profits. We have to reject that. We have to teach our kids to reject that. Because unless we do, we're going to have the same thing over and over and over again, because the system is designed. You get a new freshman, senator, House member, whatever you want to call it, and they put you through this process where they brainwash you. And they teach you that it's no longer you're representing the people, you are now part of the caucus. You're now part of the group. And they, the people you represent, they don't understand what you have to go through down here. But we do. Oh, and by the way, when you make a vote that's going to be hard to go back to your constituents to explain, don't worry about it. Because we have all these donors that will give you tons of money and will be able to send out this message that your constituents will buy to get you reelected. So as long as you do what we tell you to do, you'll be protected and you can come back and you can do whatever you want to do. It's designed that way, and until we get people again that can say, no, I am not going to do that. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, no matter what, we're getting the same old thing. Now, how does this incorporate into blockchain? Blockchain is an immutable record that cannot be denied. Imagine if everything an elected official did financially and on a vote, because right now in the Georgia House and Georgia Senate, there's votes that we make that are not recorded. Y'all will never know about it unless you're actually sitting in a meeting or watching it online. There's no way to go back and look at it. Blockchain, if we can put our finances, I was at another event talking about blockchain, and the question came up about how does government lose billions and billions of dollars? On the federal government, that number's up in the trillions. Just a couple months ago here in Georgia, the 911 system lost $10 million. How do you do that? How do you lose $10 million? And on top of that, who was held accountable for losing the $10 million? Nobody. There was nobody ever held accountable for the losses, for the mistakes that are made in government. We take the government transactions and we take the way government is done and we put it on an immutable record that is open to everybody. I think it was the gentleman here that talked about politicians are the best when they're being watched. We can try to watch them all we want to, but there are so many deals, so many things that are done, St. Simon's Island, out of the state, out of the country, that we don't even know about. We put everything on this immutable record. We will know for real what is going on and not be lied to. And blockchain is the answer to a lot of this.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for taking up that issue and bringing it up to the Senate as well. So the next question is for Cindy. So Cindy, some of the policy decisions, right, that you have to make, sometimes social media helps you with getting the message out. Sometimes it turns you off because of all the comments. And as social media is so open to any one of us, anyone can make comments. It's sort of becoming very disruptive in a way. But how have you made policy decisions? Did you use media at all, or was it one-on-one with the community leaders? And tell us some examples that you wanted to talk about earlier.
I got two examples in front of me. I started out thinking that I could engage with social media, and I thought I'll just be open and honest and transparent, and I'll just talk to people. No, I'll take it even a step further. Before I got into office, I started a group myself. I didn't think I was ever going to run for office, and I thought, I know everybody in office. And I just got on social media. And I thought, I know everybody on school board, I know everybody at the Capitol, I know all the Board of Commissioners. So I'll start this group, and that way we can all talk about issues. And it was the best idea in the world. The part that I didn't know was all the crazy people. I didn't know they existed. I didn't know that they were out there and that they were going to be so mean to all the people that were serving. And they were setting it up and all that was going to happen. And then I sure didn't know I was going to run. And so I had to step down and not take the group. And I gave it over to two different people. And after 6 months, they said, we don't want this. It's the worst thing. It's ruining our whole life. And so they gave it up, and then two other people took it over. So I got into office and I thought, well, I'm going to engage. And then it wound up, it was like I was up till 3 and 4 in the morning trying to answer. And although I'm not married, but it was still taking up all my time and I wasn't able to work on things. So what I tried to do is just answer to my community and answer, to engage in some of the issues that I've dealt with that might be of interest here that became rather controversial, and I've still got people that dislike me because of it. And it's funny because you can look on social media, and I'm sure the others in elected office, there's still the same people that write bad about you, and that's the issue. Like, oh, they don't like me because I voted to widen that road. And they don't like me because I voted for the Chimaya Temple on Pittman Road, and they didn't want me to vote for that. And they don't like me because of the cricket fields that I voted for. You can associate that name, and they're still going after you 4 years later because of that. But we were talking about the cricket fields. I think it's one of the best things, or best situations that came, because they're located in a very, very rural part of Forsyth County that is the least diverse. And I grew up in Forsyth County. I'm 56 years old, and I remember when the first Catholics moved in Forsyth County. I mean, they were just Baptists and Methodists, period. I mean, like in the summers, we came back to school in the fall and we talked about who got saved over the summer. So, I mean, that is just the way it was. And I remember when my friend Kathy moved in and they said she was Catholic, and I said, Kathy, you're Catholic? You don't look any different. What does it mean? So, I mean, I was at the Oprah show. I mean, I know all about Forsyth County. And so when I was on Park and Rec Board 11 years, and I was there when our Hispanic community started moving in, and they were wanting fields, and I was there, when all we had in Forsyth County were very poor community, very poor. I mean, before 400 was built, nobody wanted to live in Forsyth County. I graduated high school in 1980, and there was 27,000 people in the county. And my grandmother she was a school teacher, and she walked a mile to teach school and walked a mile back home, and she got paid $1 a day, and was so proud to do it. And we went from being the poorest to the richest county in the state, and most of the people that live there don't have the appreciation to know where we came from, and they just demand more, which is sad. But we didn't have a park and rec system. We had parents that gave land and had fields because the parents worked them. So when we had the Hispanic community moved in, they wanted fields, of course. And when other people moved, they wanted fields. But when the Indian community moved in, they were able, they didn't have any field space, and they represent 20% of our population. So we went to our community meeting, and they had the first meeting, and I didn't go to it. I was getting fussed out about another thing at another meeting, Wildcat Creek Park, trying to do something there. And so I went to the second meeting. I called the meeting myself. And I'd understood there had been some racial things said and some bad things that had went on. And so I called it to be held at the church that was right across the road from where these guys were wanting to build their fields. And I wrote on social media, we're going to have this meeting at the church, and everybody better come with good behavior that God would be real happy about, because if you can't come with good behavior, you need to stay at home. Something to that effect. So we went to the church and we had our meeting, and I think y'all got up and made the presentation, and the attorney did. And then somewhere near the back of the room, one of the good old country boys waited and he waited and he waited, and finally he said, "Best I can tell, there ain't many of these folks around here gonna be playing no cricket." And I knew it was time. I better say something or it was going to get out of hand. And I said, well, the best I can tell, after 11 years on Park and Rec Board, every other group that, when I was on the board, came demanding. And I said, back in my generation was the last generation that the parents donated the field. They got their cars and they put they drug the fields with blocks on it and provided. And ever since then, the county's been the one that's provided. They've provided fields, they provided this, they provided that. And that's up until the time the Indian community has come in. And they're coming in and they're asking to purchase 53 acres themselves, to build the fields themselves, to do all this themselves. And they're here trying to work with you. So that won't become another subdivision with homes that will be crowding your schools, that will be doing this so your trailers, you'll have more mobile units to come in for schools and be doing this. So for every reason I can think of, you should be saying thank you instead of saying, criticizing and saying anything about you don't believe there's people living around here needing cricket fields. So correct me if I'm seeing this wrong, because I think you should be saying there should be some kind of gratitude toward it, because they're not asking to take anything out of you to pay taxes, but they're willing to pay taxes. And when I said that, it was like the whole room changed and the attitude of the room changed. And other people started speaking up and saying, she's right. I don't want it to be a subdivision, and these people have got to sell. They got to sell their land. And I don't want to see there be another subdivision. It's going to be crowded, and I'm glad that they're doing this. And it wound up being so good, and these guys were so good. The pastor from the Baptist church came when we did the groundbreaking. He led the prayer. They've worked together. They've done all this. I mean, we've said that it's Harmony Grove Church, and it was to produce harmony. And they've been so wonderful working together, and it's just been a beautiful thing. And I give them all the credit in the world. And we had to create a category. We didn't even have a category for cricket fields or park and rec for that. And the community didn't want it to be like 53 acres of commercial. They have me out to all their events, and I get to speak, and we meet all the time. And it's just been wonderful, and it's been an economic driver for the community. They've had events where they bring people in from, 15 different states, youth tournaments, and it's just a really great thing for the community. So I'm very proud to work with them.
Very nice to hear that. Commissioner Mills, are you suggesting we all come out of social media?
To use it gingerly and to use it but I really would like to say, though, that when you've got an elected official that's doing good things for you, don't let the bullies always win. Don't be afraid to take up for people every now and then. It's so nice to get a little encouragement. I mean, I don't know about these other guys, but when I get somebody that says something nice to me, it just goes a long way. I just get because when you're in the seat like this, it seems like you hear a lot from the negative side. And they're the ones that are behind the keyboard. Man, they're so brave. And they are. But, I made a good friend right off the bat. There was a guy named Russell that wrote a letter to the editor, and he was bashing the commissioners about being so stupid. And I looked up his number, and I called him. And I said, Mr. Desmond, I'm not disagreeing with you, but can you tell me what you mean about commissioners being stupid? And he really couldn't talk because I called him. I mean, he was like, who did you say you are? And I said, I'm one of those stupid commissioners that you were writing about. And I said, tell me what you think that we're stupid, because I'm just in office. And I think if you tell me, maybe I could do a better job. And do you know, he writes to me all the time. He called me when he had a refrigerator to give to the community and asked me who he could. I work with nonprofits all the time, and he wanted to know who he could give it to. Now he writes about his commissioner that's in his district and how bad he doesn't like him. But I've made the best friend. I got him, he lives in a different district, but I got GDOT to put him in a right turn lane. I've been able to help him a lot. And I've made the best friends. So sometimes I think people, as elected officials, they just want to be heard. They want somebody to respond. But I also think we can help each other by giving words of encouragement.
Very nice. Thank you. The next question is for our mayor. So, Mayor, Williams, media, so I'm not going to talk about social media, right? I'm going to talk about media. Media also has a lot of role to play in our daily lives, political life, in our personal life, or on several of the policies, the interviews that we hear from the federal level, the state level. How has, are there any misrepresentations or assumptions that has unequally affected political officials of different race? Has the media been very harsh to the minority public officials?
I think in general, the media has, I mean, we hear this a lot about, you know, the media not being fair, and it's true. And however you want to look at it, you know, if you're talking about how Washington is, how the state is, or how your local government is, the media is not fair and balanced. And certainly we've got to change that trajectory, because if we do not start sending messages that are fair, you know, I mean, we're talking about social media, but also, you know, how unfair that is. You know, I mean, that's just a group of bullies who don't have the courage to come out, you know, and certainly, you know, we're going to continue to have that, you know. But what message are we sending to our young people who are wanting to be a part of the process when the media is not delivering accurate information, but fair information? Because when we allow that to happen, it is sending messages because we watch this, we hear this, and then some people believe it. So we have to be very careful. And certainly, you know, I do believe that the media has not been fair.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is for Watson. And Watson, we've been talking a lot about, and you can see from the generations and the eras, we're talking about social media. But tell me how online communications, either not just the social media, but any type of groups or chats, has helped the young community to step up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we can all agree that social media is overall a double-edged sword for sure. Obviously, it makes us more connected. You know, I'm able to, you know, have more conversations with my friends, but at the same time, it's created these completely different information universes. And, you know, the friends you have on Facebook, the pages you like, it's what's going to come on your news feed, and that's, you know, going to be your whole day. You know, that's what you're doing when you're not actively engaging in anything else. So I honestly think that at this point, it can be as detrimental as it can be beneficial. I know it's a weird answer, but that's where we're at right now. But to talk more about and piggyback off of what Roger said, I couldn't agree more. You know, he mentioned, you know, eyeball to eyeball, and, you know, being 20 years old, I couldn't agree with you more, because, I mean, that's where it starts, I believe. I mean, that's just what I'm trying to say. People are just in their beds, on their phones, but they're not really willing to have conversations with one another. And I believe that a lot of problems when it comes to race relations or anything stem from that. So
let me ask you this question. So we call them the trolls, right? You call them the bullies, but I can't imagine young people who are in college being trolls. I mean, you're in an education institution. Is that
you'd be
right?
surprised.
Or is that an assumption?
No, you'd be surprised. Yeah. College campuses are very diverse. That's definitely a good thing. But, you know, with diversity comes differences in opinion, and no, there are definitely many trolls, for sure. I personally just don't engage in just commenting on you know, stuff on Facebook or whatever, just because I don't think it's gonna do anything. I think this does stuff, but I don't think me commenting on something, saying something nasty, does. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Nice to know. So, Jan, the next question is for you. We definitely are talking about strengthening dialogues and eye-to-eyeball conversations for better communications and reducing the gap. And I remember when the swords were being thrown at me, you asked me and said, "Why aren't you responding? Nazira, shouldn't you be responding with a video back?" responding to those allegations, accusations, whatever. I didn't respond because I couldn't be responding to 10 more. But people did come back and say, after seeing Nazira's race, I don't think I ever want to run. So how can you say it happens to a few? Do you see what I mean? They're discouraged. What if a woman wants to run? Where should she start?
Well, it's difficult. And I'm in the presence of women who have had difficult situations running. I've experienced those with them. And you have to, I always say you have to have the hide of a rhinoceros if you want to run for office. Because people will attack you. It's just what they do. Don't know why, but that's what they do. And so you would spend all your time responding to these things if you allow social media to run your life. The best way is to have social media is to have it moderated, where someone is watching that and is moderating what comes in and out. Because even if you don't reply, people see it. People read it, and people may believe it. And so you can't answer all of the things that comes in. I think you just have to know which one is the most important thing that you want to clear up as an outright lie, and possibly you are not the best messenger of that. Often someone else is the best messenger for you to send that message out. But it is a problem that is growing every day. You know, I get attacked a lot. And I've gotten used to it. It still stings, but you do manage to get on with your life with it and kind of come over it. There is, Nazira, one more thing I would like to say. It's not on this topic, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I would love for everyone to be thinking about redistricting right now. One of the reasons that we are so partisan is because of redistricting. And it's not a sexy topic, so a lot of people don't talk about it. But it is critical if we are going to end this partisan divide or start to mend it, we have to think about redistricting. Because in Georgia, redistricting is a political plum. So who's ever in power gets to draw the districts. When the Democrats were in power, they drew districts that were favorable to them. When the Republicans are in power, they draw districts that are favorable to them. Here's the problem. If 80% of your district is they will vote for you regardless, you don't have to respond to the other 20%. You don't have to listen to them. They're not your constituents. Now we have technology that will allow us to redistrict in a fair manner, where actually it is one person, one vote. We have districts that they call the Bacon District that runs from Atlanta to Savannah, a long, skinny district. How is that a connected community? So really it's important. I know it sounds boring, but it's really important. There is a nonpartisan group called Fair Districts that is working in Georgia to help do this. You might want to look them up online and see. I'm sure they'd be glad to come out and speak at one of these events. But I just like to put it on your horizon because redistricting is coming up again. And so it is an important issue for political stability in our state. Thank you.
Definitely. So the next question is, thank you, Jan. Next question is for Roger and Bobby together, if you can team tag for the next few minutes. But tell us about, so lawyers, Roger, lawyers usually swear an oath that they're not going to put their personal opinions or biases while making decisions. I'm not sure if politicians do. But my question is, why is Congress so partisan? And we've discussed how we've lost the traditional political language, right? So is there an ideal politician that exists based on ideology or any platform?
You want to go first, Bobby?
Thanks, Roger. You know, it's funny. it's
Always yield, always yield.
Yes, yes. You know, I think the most important thing goes back to being not a politician, but a public servant. So to me, the perfect elected official, appointed official, is someone selfless, someone who doesn't care who gets the credit, but looks for the common good. I was talking to somebody earlier about the ancient city of Ephesus in modern-day Turkey, and how it was the marvel of the ancient world. And it was largely because selfless public servants made decisions that were wise for their grandkids and their grandkids' grandkids. They had plumbing, they had education, they had roads. It was a marvel. And then a generation or two later, they rested on those laurels. They didn't make the wise decisions looking beyond the immediate, looking beyond how am I going to get reelected. And then Ephesus went from being a marvel to a little bit of a less important place, to a backwater place, to a ghost town, and a footnote almost of its former glory. And you look at a place like Atlanta and Georgia, and you think, how is it? It's no small thing that we have the world's busiest airport. How did that come to pass? How is it that in the 1960s, despite all of our problems, Atlanta was a leader, black and white, and other groups? You know, because of the leadership, the foresight of the leadership. How is it that we got the Centennial Olympics over Athens, Greece, the Summer Olympics? Well, some of that is ancient history. We might have been a little bit like Ephesus 50 years ago, and everybody else is catching up on us. And it's because we don't have those ideal politicians. And Roger, you know, you're right. You know, it's not me, it's we. And what are we doing thinking ahead? Now, I will tell you, I think the reason, and I'm flattered to be on this panel, I don't hold a candle to anybody on this panel. I think the reason was that I'm a public servant and I ran for office. It was easier, Cassandra, at least in my race, because it was nonpartisan. I really couldn't talk about specific issues so much. I just had to say, I'm going to follow the law, I'm going to be faithful to the law, faithful to the process, and treat everybody equally under the law. And I'm going to treat people with dignity and respect. I think when you get into these divisive issues, and this doesn't answer your question exactly, please think outside your box. If you're on social media, if you find that everybody you connect with feels exactly the way you do on every issue, reach out to other people. You know, get out of your comfort zone. Roger, I think it's your turn.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, first of all, social media, I don't do that. I just went from a flip phone to an iPhone about a year ago. So I'd be downtown and my telephone would go off and I'd open it up and I'm talking and some young intern or something on the next thing said, Mr. Wise, can I see that? Is this something new? And I said, no, honey, it's older than you are. So I don't do social media. I'm a face-to-face type person. Always have been, always will be. Again, it gets back to the way I was raised. When I'm talking with these young folks at the college age and the high school age, I tell them there's something called the person in the mirror. And they look at me, and I said, when you get up in the morning, if you can look that person in the mirror eyeball to eyeball and not look away and down and up, it has been a good day and it's going to be a good day. But when you can't look them eyeball to eyeball and you're looking down and around, it has been a bad day and it's going to be a worse day. I reckon it's a pleasure. A lot of people come to me and say, I'm thinking about running for office. What do you think about that? And I had, seems like a young lawyer come to my office one day and said, I'm thinking about running for office. What do you think about that? I knew him, I respected him, and I said, go for it. because his heart is in the right place. We still have some good elected officials. We still have some good elected officials. But unfortunately, the news media likes to sensationalize, and they'll take a bad apple and try to spoil the whole bucket. People come up to me. I put signs in my yard. I live on the golf course. They come up to me at the club and say, "Who am I voting for this time?" I said, "What do you mean? You hadn't got your signs up yet. Once you get your signs up, that's who I'm voting for." I say, "I feel sorry for you." They look at me. I said, "You look at the candidates. You research the candidates, and that's who you vote for." "Well, you have time-wise to do all this stuff, and you know more than I know." I said, "No, I don't know more than you know, but I take an interest. I get involved." I've seen some good officials, and the senator shakes his head true. They've gone down there with all good intentions, but they get there, and they stay one term, and they start picking up bad habits, and they start hanging out with the wrong crowd. And they can't understand why they're losing the respect. On the other hand, you have individuals that go down there and they don't hang out with the wrong crowd. They do what is right. And when she started doing what is right, there was a whole bunch of hoo-pa-pa going on because she was doing her job and there's others that were not doing their job. That ain't got nothing to do with male, female, or whatever. And somebody asked me one day, said, what are you? I said, "I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm not gay, and I'm not straight. I'm Roger Wise. I'm moderately conservative, I'm fiscally responsible, and I'm socially sensitive. That's who I am and what I am." And we need to strive to get all of our elected officials to have that philosophy. We'll be much better off. There are some young folks coming into the fold now. There are some young folks coming into the fold now, and they, quote unquote, are coming in with the right philosophy. And I tell them, I said, get ready. It ain't gonna be easy. They're gonna come at you from all sides. But you've got to get up in the morning and look in that mirror. And if you can look in that mirror in the morning and look that person eyeball to eyeball, it has been a good day and going to be a good day. So I challenge them to look in that mirror every single morning. I apologize to those that you do have some individuals. They don't have the guts, they don't have the self-esteem to look you eyeball to eyeball. But you let them get behind that computer, and you think, "Oh my God, lock out the dog, mama, we coming home with the fleas." I mean, they're experts in everything. Now, I want to thank you for doing what you've done in Forsyth County. And I want to thank you, but I'm a little upset. My son moved to Forsyth County when he got married. And he said, "Dad, I got him a good deal on a house." He said, "Dad, I don't know, I'm done. Well, he's got 2 children now. He coaches his little girls' softball team. He coaches his little boys' soccer team. So we're on the Disney cruise, and I'm saying, "Trey, I want you to kind of move into Horseshoe Bend. Your sister's already moved in." He said, "Hell no, I ain't leaving Forsyth County." He says, "Fulton County don't even have a cricket field." Well, I didn't even know what the hell he was talking about until I talked with your county commissioner, and she said, "Yeah, we're going to have a cricket field." He said, "I ain't moving to that damn Horseshoe Bend, North Fulton, because y'all don't have a cricket field." So I feel honored and flattered to be here. and just share with you what I see, what I've seen, and what I hope will be. And I want y'all to join me in giving this young lady right here a real round of applause for setting this thing up.
And Nazira, if I could just finish our answer. Think of it this way as well. Everybody here puts a lot of thought into where your kids go to school. You're invested in their education. If you go to the doctor, you think of important questions to ask. Ask those same questions of your politicians, and ask those same questions of who you vote for. So really, to answer your question, what's the ideal candidate? It's really, who is the ideal voter? Who is the ideal informed citizen? And that's you. Take as much care in who you choose, and it might be yourself that you choose as your elected officials, as you do choosing the car you drive. This is one of the most important decisions that affects all of us. And on a personal note, Roger, thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. So the D-Day is coming Tuesday, November 6th. One of the reasons we chose this topic for today for the Chai and Just Chat. So final question is for Cassandra and Michael, our senator, the importance of voting. If we can quickly discuss, and then I want to do the closing comments with each one of you.
And so what I did not tell you all when I came here is my father was born in 1918. My father was very active in the civil rights movement as an adult, obviously, and was basically chased from Mississippi, and that's how we ended up here in Georgia. He met my mother when we were here, when she was here in school. Obviously, there's an age difference, and that's not important. But that is something we have always done in my house, is vote. From the time that we all lived together in South DeKalb, once we went to the voting booth, the voter people knew, I've seen your mother and your father, I haven't seen your sister. So it was something that we all knew we were planning to do. It was not an option not to vote, because my father made it an option, made it a requirement. My father had been, I mentioned, chased out of Mississippi. He was also part of the voter litigation because he was helping people register to vote in Mississippi, which is why he had to leave. So he was helping teach people the test, because back in 1960, whatever, people had to take a test in order to vote. Many people of color were unable to pass the test despite their education levels, because the people that were administering the test actually didn't know the answers. So, and so that was part of what he did, and that's what he testified about. So for me, voting is near and dear to my heart. One of the organizations I am involved with is the League of Women Voters, because I believe that they give us an informed group of people to vote. And that, as Bobby has said, is the biggest thing that you can do. It scares me when people say two things: I don't vote, or I don't know who to vote for. It concerns me that people want to be actively involved in the communities in which we live, that they want to be engaged, and I'm not really sure what that means, but they don't want to inform themselves enough to go vote about the people that will serve their interests the best. And so for me, I have to thank the 76,000 people in Fulton County that voted for me. I also thank the 27,000 people that did not vote for me, because at the end of the day, I intend to serve that whole 104,000 people, but I have to think that's not a lot of people. Fulton County has 1 million people. There are only 500 or 600,000 people that are registered to vote. I'm happy to have won, but that's a sad state when that's the people that are making the choice as to who governs, in this part, Fulton County Magistrate Court. They say it's the people's court, and we're really just a sliver of the people. And so I would encourage you all to vote, to be informed, and to get other people involved.
Thank you. Senator, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just obviously echo pretty much everything that you just said. That's one thing to vote. It's also important to go out there to educate yourself on who you're voting for, and don't listen to all the propaganda, the TV commercials. Do your own research. Actually learn about the candidates, what they stand for, what they represent, and kind of along the same lines that you mentioned. I live in a county, Forsyth County, about 220,000 people. I took office with 13,000 votes. 13,000 votes out of 220,000 is what I won to represent the county. So we have a lot of voter apathy out there. We need to get our friends, our neighbors, our family, educate them, get them out there to vote, and let's just have a record midterm election this year.
Thank you so much. So before we go to the questions, I do want each of you have 15 to 20 seconds if we can finish with closing thoughts from this session today.
And should I start?
You should start, yes.
Well, again, thank you to everybody. This has really been fun and engaging, and you've made this special for all of us. I'll be very curious to hear the questions you have. Challenge yourself, challenge us, and just thank you for being part of this community. We've done a lot, we can do a lot more, but you have to be engaged in whatever way that is. Get involved, get your uniform dirty, like Roger said.
Thank you. Hudson?
Well, I'd like to say that I was kind of moved. I didn't know much about these cricket fields and all that was going on. I will say it almost seems like in my parents' neighborhood, they live in Cumming. It almost seems like Christmas comes twice a year, and the first time it comes, it's Diwali. That's because all the houses are lit up and all that. One thing I saw last year was that young children, Indian American children, were able to experience Diwali on the streets with fireworks and everything, just like children in India on their streets would have. And that's something that, while growing up in America, I did not have, but that's something they have now, which is a very big deal. And so thank you so much, Commissioner, for providing that environment and making sure that children growing up in their country feel like they belong. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say I really appreciate having the opportunity to come and be a part of this group, and thank you, Nazira, for inviting me. But this is something I will take away with me. It is possible for us all to be in a room together with this room of diversity. You know, when you think about we could be any place in the world and we probably wouldn't be able to be together, you know, because oftentimes there are places where having these types of discussions may cost you your life. You know, so this is an opportunity for us not only to do better, but to be better and to make sure that our children learn from these opportunities. Again, it doesn't matter if you agree, it's how you turn that discussion into being non-disagreeable. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for coming out, taking time out of your schedule to be here. Some of you probably didn't come as far as I did, but hey, you know, thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I want to thank you for having me here. I'm grateful to be a part of a panel like this, and I also I want to challenge us all that we don't have to allow other people to define us. No matter what our party is, we don't have to allow them to draw the lines in the sand of making us behave a certain way, or to dislike other people, or to not show love to one another, or to behave in a particular manner. I think that what you said touched me. I mean, I started to cry. I mean, because I think that, to me, I want to leave the world in a better place for my grandchildren, because they bring me that joy that we talked about. And I want to know that I have left the world in a better place for them. And ultimately, that's why I serve. And that's why I am a public servant. And that means more to me in my life than any of this other stuff. I wish we didn't have parties. I mean, I do, because I think that it's about giving back, and giving back more to the world than you take from it. And that was when we were having the big divide with the Chemaya mission and the big fight with it, and people were, you know, screaming and yelling and being mean to me for supporting it. And I've taught Sunday school forever in my Baptist church, and I've got to leave right now to go do my event there. And I was listening to, I'm sure a lot of Christians were writing me letters that were, all of their letters were the same, because they just hit that button and you get 500 of them, and they all said, let me make myself crystal clear. You will not support this. And the Hindus were all individually written, and they were all, you know, so beautifully written and so kind and gracious. And it was, we just want to teach our children to give back more to the world than they take from it. And I was thinking, isn't that what we all want to do? And so, in my opinion, we've all got a lot more in common than we have differences. And if we can get to that point where we see that the world is a much better place. And if we can all join together, we can do so much more for the world, and so much more for our children, and so much more for our grandchildren. And that's what life is supposed to be all about.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. Cassandra? 20-second closing thoughts.
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here. I want to thank you for your friendship, for supporting me throughout the time that I've known you from Fulton County up until now, and so I appreciate that. For the people in this room, I want to say thank you for joining us today. Bobby has already mentioned you all could have been anywhere, and you chose to be with us today. I am honored to be able to be here with you all. I am a public servant. If there is anything I can do for you, please write, call. I have to answer my own phone. But write and call, and we will make sure that I am here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I feel humbled. I've always had my own feeling, to thine own self be true. And if we had our elected officials and our public servants that lived by that rule, to thy own self be true, we'd be much better off. Each of you could be anywhere you want to today, but you chose to be here. I compliment you and I thank you for getting involved. That's really what it's all about. Challenge your friends to get involved. We talked about children and grandchildren. I'm a person of strong faith, and I've got 5 grandchildren, and like I said, we went on the Disney cruise, and I'm sitting there watching them, and I'm thanking God every day that He gave me 5 little ones running around, having a good time. But many times I speak to groups, and I will take a glass of water and put it here, and I'll take a sponge and put it here. And as I'm talking, I'm pouring water into the dish with a sponge. When I get through, the sponge is opened up, and the water glass is empty. I asked the audience, I said, what is this? Oh, that's a glass of water and a sponge. I said, no, it's not. That's parenting skills, and that's a young person's brain. They start learning at an early age. They learn by example. If they see their mother and father or their papa and grandmother doing stupid things, then they grow up doing stupid things. So it's our responsibility to raise our young people with a proper example. You don't know how you look till you had your picture took. I want everybody to do the right thing, so when you have your picture took, you're proud of that picture.
Thank you, Roger.
First of all, I'd like to thank Nazira for bringing together this amazing group of people. I have learned so much, and I'm just impressed with everyone who's here today. And thank you to the audience who came out. As I said, you could be anywhere today because today was a beautiful day. And so thank you for being here. I would encourage everyone to vote. It's so critically important, and as you've heard, so few people vote. If you could take one person with you, if you could volunteer to drive people to the polls who may not have a way to get there. When you don't vote, you give your voice to another person. And so that person may not have the voice you want them to have. So it's really important to vote. When I was a young child, way back when the Earth's crust was cooling, my parents took me to the polls when they voted. And back then it was a little room, and you had a curtain. You pulled a lever and the curtain came around you, and you were sealed in a little dark space, and it felt so special. It really felt like, wow, this is something. And we were always taught that that is your civic responsibility. It's not an option. It's your civic duty to vote. So I hope that everyone will exercise that this Tuesday and help others to do it as well. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, I too want to thank you for the invite. It's been an honor to share the stage with all of you. It's been a great evening, and also thank all of you for coming as well. I guess the final thought I would like to leave with all of you is whether you're Republican or whether you're Democrat, there's somebody out there whose sole purpose in life is to get you to hate the other side. And anytime you give in to that, they're winning and we're losing. Keep that in mind. We're all Americans. We all love our country. And let's go vote on Tuesday.
Thank you so much. Since we've incorporated most of the questions that you asked while registering, we have time just for 2 questions, and then we have to go on a break. So Sonia and, okay. So Sonia, go ahead and I'll...
My question is, I hope everyone goes out to vote on the 6th. It's very important, as we all know. But then we'll have the 7th and 8th and 9th. And what is our civic responsibility then? Obviously, I'm hoping that on the 6th, we can change the tide of this extreme hatred that we're seeing inculcated by certain people who don't really deserve, I think, to be in office, because what we should be promoting in a multicultural America is love for each other and respect for each other, and not hatred for each other, and giving into silly groups that obviously want to break us all down. So come what may on the 6th, and I hope good things come on the 6th, and that we are back being an indivisible nation and not one which is divided left, right, and center. On the 7th, if that does come to pass, what is our civic duty? And unfortunately, if we're still divided come the 7th, what do we do in that case? And my question is open to all the panelists. Thank you.
Just for interest of time, I'm going to ask Mayor Williams to answer that question.
Well, I'll tell you, what you do on the 7th is continue to do what we're doing now. Come together. We cannot let, however the election turns out, we know that there is a higher power that already appointed that person to be elected. But what we have a greater responsibility by making sure that we have our neighbors, our friends, our schoolmates, that we are working together with them to continue to do the work, because whoever is in office on November the 6th, it's not going to happen over these next 4 years that kumbaya is going to take place. It's going to be a day-to-day process, and this is how it starts in rooms like this where we have such beautiful diversity and different opinions to make sure that this world does get to the place that was the purpose of all of us.
Yes, I saw Mike's hand rise up. So Mike, if you can make your question quick.
Sure. Thank you, Nazira. That's first State Senator Mitchell.
Michael Williams.
Michael Williams, thank you. I have short-term memory conversion problems.
You're fine.
You mentioned something that
I've been called worse.
You mentioned something that I have suspected for some time, and that there is an oligarchy above us allowing us to pretend we're voting. What do you see as how do we cure that problem?
First of all, you're absolutely correct. We have the illusion of voting. We actually go, we vote, but we are all kind of manipulated through the media that we watch. We talked about how there's fake news, false news out there, and it's on both sides, and it's designed to get a certain reaction from those that believe one way and another reaction from those that believe the other. And the whole thing is positioned to continue to divide us. And the way they're doing that, again, is through the advertising and the money that comes in through politics. I mentioned Citizens United, the Supreme Court ruling. That was one of the worst Supreme Court rulings I've ever seen because it allows for an unlimited amount of money from corporations to control our voting process, the messaging they send to our brains. And if we want to get our country back, that's one of the first things we have to do is limit the amount of money that is spent in campaigns. The judge over here, she experienced that firsthand. Going up, even as an incumbent, going up against the powers that be, undergunned, it's hard and it sucks, and everybody doesn't have the stamina and the courage that she has to fight that. So we got to get the money out of politics.
Great. Pancho, final question, and then we're breaking up.
Commissioner Mills, you better get going, so this is going to be...
It's okay.
I just wanted to say, and save the question for somebody else, but can you introduce the folks here that are running the cameras and we can give them a round of applause on in here?
Sure, yeah. So
Thanks a lot.
that's Trey. We have Trey and Roy. Did I get that right, Roy? And we have Christopher on the videograph. Yes, thank you. So I would like, Gambhirji, do you have a quick question? The final question, very quick, because I know Commissioner has to leave.
Yeah, very quick. Of course, first of all, I thank you, Nazira, for doing such a beautiful, interesting, and useful chat every month. My question is very simple. In fact, not much time is left, but still a lot of time is left. How much personal interpersonal relationship and friendship you make with your voters? How much you discuss person to person, like eyeball to eyeball, which is very important, I feel, than coming up on the TV or discussion like this. More than important is person to person discussion and meeting, and how much and how far you can go ahead and still do the interpersonal discussion with the voters.
Gambhirji, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know Commissioner Mills talked about it, so if you can quickly respond and we can finish the
Thank
session.
you.
Thank you.
And she's the only one I know very well.
I engage with mine all the time. And in fact, because I grew up in Forsyth County, I engage, as Pancho can tell you, with everybody in the county pretty much all the time. I can't go, that's the thing when you're a county commissioner, you don't escape it. You go to church, people go around and they join the church, or they come up for prayer, they stop to tell you that the road needs being done, or that this needs happening, can you get this fixed? I mean, it's you're engaging all the time.
Yeah, I know that you do it because you have met me so many times on Indian independence and freedom events.
Sure.
But yes,
Thank you.
but any other if you want to say, but I'm sure you all have been doing it.
Well, certainly, living in Union City, I see everybody every day because I'm patrolling the city all day, every day, if I'm not meeting, but I am in the various schools, in the grocery store, so I see people every day and they have a question, a complaint, or maybe a attaboy, saying, job well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
If I
so
could
much.
just mention, it does depend, and I'm sorry, what kind of race it is. I ran a countywide race, as Judge Kirk did. It's hard to reach 100,000 people or 500,000 or 1 million voters. I think if it's within a city or a certain state house race, you can reach out a lot better. So it's a challenge when it's a bigger race, just
Thank
for
you.
what that's worth.
Thank you. Let's
Thank
give
you.
it up for the panelists.
Yes.
I would like